It's Christmas Eve. If this was any other year, we'd be gathered together with our friends, some family, children running around, olders telling stories. We'd probably be getting ready for church service, to go and hear the stories, to sing the carols, to light the candles. We'd be looking around us at the church surrounded by people who we knew growing up or we know now, people who share our faith journey, share our questions. Instead, we're alone and we're isolated, and it's not quite feeling the joy that we have in past years, but maybe that is a gift in itself. This year, more than any other year, we have time to really focus on the creche and look at the characters who were there and think a little bit more about why they were there, what they were doing, what they could have been thinking. The Christian message, right from the start, was a complete opposite of what society expected. Everything about Jesus' ministry was different. He was known as the King of Kings, and yet he lived the most humble existence. He was expected to be the great warrior, conquer the Romans and kick them out of Israel, and yet he was the Prince of Peace. He was anticipated by so many, and yet he came without any fanfare. Then we look at Mary, a young woman who probably didn't expect to give birth that way. She expected her mom around her. She expected her aunts and her cousins, people there that she knew she could count on, who would help her relax, help her feel a little bit better about perhaps the scariest thing she'd done in her life to date. Giving birth often meant death for women, so they wanted to be around others who could comfort them. But Mary didn't have that. She had to give birth alone, with only strangers around for support. And Joseph. Joseph was a carpenter. He wasn't a farmer. Chances were he wasn't even around when animals were born. He definitely was not around when other humans were born. And yet he's the midwife. He's the one that brings Jesus into the world. He's the one Mary has to rely on completely. And he doesn't know what he's doing, but he does it anyway. He's the one that holds Jesus first with all of his newborn goo and slob and wrangling arms. And then we have the shepherds. The shepherds were ostracized. They were the outside of society, the last people thought of, and yet they were the first ones to show up. They were the ones given the special message to come and bear witness and be part of this miracle. And if we have a traditional creche, we have the wise men there as well. Only 3, because anything more gets a little cumbersome, but it's legend and tradition that comes out of the Middle Ages that suggested it was 3. In fact, the Magi would have been a caravan, men and women and older children and servants and slaves, possibly students, lots of camels, donkeys carrying whatever they needed. These were people used to being treated with great esteem. They had people giving them whatever they wanted. And here they were coming to a stable, a cave really, where they were the ones that were kneeling down in front of a little baby who had nothing, who meant nothing. They could have ignored completely, but they didn't. And then the gifts they brought, of course. Many jokes have been made about the gifts. Gold and frankincense and myrrh were the gifts of death, not birth. Frankincense and myrrh were the oils that you anointed a body with. And yet these were supposed to be the birth gifts. Gold is good any time. They had nothing. Yet they had everything. They had each other. They had this baby who was going to change the world, and they knew it. They had the Christmas promise. And it's that promise that we celebrate this evening. Even though we can't be around the people we love, we can't get hugs from the people we haven't seen in months, it doesn't mean that we can't share the love of the season. Do the best you can to reach out to everybody you know. Tell them Merry Christmas. Tell them Happy Holidays. Tell them whatever greeting comes trippingly to your tongue. We're in a time where we are witnessing great change and upheaval and isolation. And now it's the perfect time to look at the child who caused more upheaval than anyone could imagine. He brought a vision of a world that we could all participate in, all create together. It is that love that we celebrate this Christmas night. Please have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy every aspect of it. Sing the carols to yourself. Listen to them wherever you can. Read the Gospel of Luke. Hear the stories. Read the Gospel of Matthew. Celebrate this night. The child is born. The waiting is over. Jesus has come.